匂いは安全だな。
最後の晩餐。
美味しいです。
So we are on. Okay, one more time. So we are on our 4th week of Spy Family, and on episode number 4, this was definitely the most filler episode of the season, but I'm completely okay with that because I absolutely loved the context and what this episode was trying to really achieve. And you know, I've talked about it for the first 3 episodes. I talked about it for like the last 12 episodes before that. But like, I always talk about every week on how Lloyd is always trying to separate himself mission and, you know, family, but then doing it for the mission. So mission and then, you know, family, and they don't really blend. At least he doesn't think so. But like at the same point, he's getting attached to Bond the dog. He's getting attached to Anya, right? He's truly worried about Yor and everything that she's doing outside of here, making sure that she's happy. So it's like he's beginning to do things like us on a, like a subconscious level. And even this episode, right? He's meeting with our fuzzy friend. And, you know, our fuzzball friend is like, oh, you wouldn't understand, you have a wife and a kid or whatever. He's like, oh, but that's for the mission, right? But at the same time, like, it is, but it isn't kind of thing. Like, because he's absolutely falling in love with the family that he has. It's just like on a subconscious level, like what he says and what he says and probably what he'll inevitably do are probably going to be very different things. But overall, this episode, though, it was, again, like I said, very filler type episode. And, you know, the things that kind of occurred this episode is really just focus on Yor. And, you know, the episode starts off, you know, she's very, you know, Anya's very worried about her. Lloyd's very worried about her. Cut up fingers, really like, it looks like she just went on like the worst job that she's ever gone on before, like the worst assassination job ever. But the reality is Yor has just been really stressing out and really worried about her cooking abilities and really trying to keep her new happy family together because she doesn't want to get divorced. Why? Because if she gets divorced, then that means that she could potentially get arrested and be in jail. She feels like she has a cocoon of protection on her from her day job, right? So she has her day job, but then she has her night job, and then it's the night job that she's worried about getting caught up for. So I love that, you know, she had grim expressions on her, countless cuts, and all of these things, right? And I'm always waiting for Lloyd to put 2 and 2 together as well. You know, he continually goes and he's always wondering, like, yo, I see cuts, I see expressions, I see this. I'm waiting for his super spyness to kick in when it comes to York. So I'm sure if he were able to do some digging, he could probably find out kind of like what she is, who she is, you know, potentially. Then one thing I have to mention to the OP is absolute fire. You know, then we get Yor and her actual cooking stuff. She gets helped by her friend that she works with. We have a whole entire scene of that, you know. Then her brother comes in, you know, Yuri comes in and gets invited over to her cooking sessions. She constantly fails. I love how her brother was eating her food. You know, he has memories from childhood. Bro is throwing up and eating. I love how she almost killed her friends. I love that... I love that Yuri had like a line this episode, and he was like, "Oh, just like when I was a kid, I'm breaking out into sweats." You know what I mean? So he starts eating the food, and he was like, "Oh, I'm breaking out into a sweat." He's like, "Wait, is that mom waving at me?" And he continues to eat. Like bro's like dying as he's eating. I absolutely love that. So she finally, you know, she has a successful meal. That was all awesome to see. I love how we got like a little flashback to her and Yuri, you know, when her mother was still around. You know, that I thought was a very sweet, sentimental thing. I love how she was thankfully able to pull off the cooking, kind of similar to how her mother did, you know, in that southern style, you know, by adding sour cream to a stew. Whatever, that works. She finally makes it home. She cooks for her family, and I love how Anya, right before she dug into the food, she said the most iconic line. She was like, "Oh, okay, she's like, this is my last supper." She's like, the last supper, and it ended up being good, and I thought that was really cool. And then obviously, you know, Yor came out with the Yor original special plate that got Anya and Lloyd down and out. Then the rest of the episode was all about Mr. Fuzzy Fuzzball Man, you know, the informant and him trying to get a date and failing and stuff like that. The rest of the episode I felt was pretty insignificant. But again, this was the most filler episode that we've got in season because nothing was moved forward here. The mission that Lloyd is on wasn't moved forward at all. Anya didn't go to school during this episode, so nothing was moved forward there with what she's trying to accomplish. Yor didn't assassinate anybody. There was nothing there. So that's why I say this is the most filler type episode this season, because really this was just a glimpse into a daily life or a day in the Forger family that doesn't involve assassinations, that doesn't involve school, that doesn't involve Lloyd and his mission or other missions that come to him from the government and stuff. So that's why I call this one the most filler episode we got. And if anybody says different, I'm just like, okay, well, what's a filler episode then? Because this is Goku and Piccolo learning how to drive, okay? So that was really it. Overall, though, I really enjoyed it. I hella laughed during the episode. I laughed during all the Yor stuff. I laughed at her failure of cooking. I laughed at Yuri basically dying in front of us. I laughed during Anya's different reactions and stuff this episode. I laughed when Lloyd disguised himself as a lady that the fuzzball guy was trying to impress. And I laughed that Anya felt so bad for Mr. Fuzzy Man that she basically pushed Lloyd to go have a drink with this guy. So all of those things are absolutely hilarious. So another great episode of Spy Family. Not like a standout of the season or anything, but definitely a really good episode. And I enjoy these kind of episodes when they're done well. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you guys next Saturday for probably a more fruitful episode. Peace.